She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You'll never learn to be a real mother if I keep bailing you out." My baby was screaming from hunger in the next room. I was 22, barely keeping my head above water, and newly a single mom. My boyfriend bolted 3 months into my pregnancy, and though my mother welcomed me back into her house, it wasn't out of love, it was out of control. Living with her felt like walking a tightrope between gratitude and suffocation. She made it clear from the beginning that I had gotten myself into this, and she wasn't going to raise another child. She said she'd help just enough, but never said what that meant. It was a Thursday afternoon. I had just gotten home from my part-time shift at the diner. My uniform still reeked of grease and stress. I had 20 minutes before my baby's next feeding. When I went to the cabinet where I kept her formula and diapers, it was empty. Completely empty. I stood there for a few seconds blinking. I checked the pantry, the linen closet, even my diaper bag. Nothing. That's when my mom walked into the kitchen with this smug little expression. I still remember the way she folded her arms like she was so proud of herself. "I took it," she said. "It's time you learn to plan ahead. What if I wasn't here one day? What would you do then?" I thought I misheard her. "You what?" "I hid the formula and diapers," she repeated. "You've become too dependent. I'm not going to be here forever, and you need to figure things out like a real mom." My chest tightened. My baby started to wail in the next room, and I swear to God I felt my milk let down from stress. My baby hadn't eaten in almost 4 hours. I was saving the last bottle for when I got home. I counted everything. I wasn't careless. I asked her, "Where did you put them?" She just shook her head. "Not until you prove you can handle being a mother." I couldn't believe it. I ran to my daughter, picked her up, tried to soothe her with water from a bottle while calling my friend Jasmine, who lived nearby. She didn't pick up. My mom stood in the doorway the whole time watching like this was some sort of twisted lesson in parenting. I eventually found one emergency formula packet in my hospital go bag. Enough for one feed. I mixed it with shaking hands while holding my baby with the other arm. I was crying by then. My baby was red-faced and hoarse from crying. And my mom? She watched me the entire time, then walked away. That night Jasmine called me back, and when I told her what happened, she said, "Girl, that's abuse. That's not parenting advice. That's control." I wanted to believe she was overreacting, but the next morning, I found the formula and diapers in a locked cabinet in my mom's room. She didn't even deny it. "You figured it out, didn't you?" she said. "That means it worked." I started to wonder if this had been her plan all along, build me up just enough to depend on her, then yank the rug out when it suited her ego. Then came the twist. About a week later, I was picking up some groceries when I ran into an old neighbor, Mrs. Callahan. We got to talking and I vented a little. I didn't name names, but I mentioned my mother in passing. That's when she said something that hit me like a brick. "You know, it's funny. Your mom used to say you were too soft to raise a child. She said you'd be back in 2 weeks, begging her for help." "What?" I asked. "When did she say that?" "Back when you first moved out during your pregnancy. She used to tell everyone you'd fail. I thought she was just scared for you, but maybe she just wanted to be right." I went home with my stomach in knots. It made sense now why she was never fully supportive, why she always undermined my choices, why she waited until I ran out of everything to make her move. This wasn't about teaching me a lesson. It was about proving she was right. I started planning how to move out. I'm only 2,000 words in, but the rest of this story gets even more intense with a confrontation that spirals, a shocking secret about her past as a mother, and the moment I finally decide. Either I break the cycle or my daughter grows up believing love always comes with strings. I didn't confront her right away. That night, I held my baby close, watching her sleep, breathing in her tiny sighs and baby shampoo scent. And I kept asking myself the same question. How far would my mother go to make a point? The next morning, I left early to clear my head and walked to the park with the stroller. I didn't have a real plan yet, no savings, no backup housing, and no reliable family support, but I knew one thing with absolute clarity. I couldn't keep raising my daughter in a house where love was weaponized. While we sat on a bench, Jasmine called. She didn't say hello. She just asked, "Are you safe?" I paused. Physically? Yeah. Emotionally? Not even close. That's when Jasmine offered what felt like a miracle. My cousin just moved out. The room's tiny, but it's got a door that locks and a crib if you need it. Rent's cheap. Just utilities for now. I swear I almost dropped the phone. But that's when reality hit. Jazz, I can't even afford diapers right now. I don't have a car, and I only get 20 hours a week at the diner. I'll help you until you get stable. Just say the word. It took everything in me not to cry. I said I needed a day or two to figure things out. I knew I had to do this the right way. My mom was controlling, yes, but she was also clever. If I left in a rage, she could twist the story to everyone we knew. But if I left quietly, responsibly, there'd be nothing she could spin. That afternoon, I came home and found her cleaning the kitchen like nothing had happened. I asked her, "Can we talk?" She didn't even look up. "If this is about yesterday, I think it worked, don't you?" "No, Mom. It didn't. It just scared me. And it scared my daughter. That's not parenting, and it's not love. That's manipulation." She laughed. Laughed. "You think you know more than me now? You're 22. I raised you without help, don't forget. And maybe that's why we're here," I said. "You raised me to survive, not to feel safe. And I'm not doing that to her." That stopped her. Just for a moment. She wiped her hands with a towel slowly. "Don't you dare act like I didn't do my best." I nodded. "I believe you did. But your best is hurting us now." That night I started packing in secret. Just the basics. Clothes. Baby formula. Diapers. Birth certificate. I called Jasmine again and told her I'd take the room. We planned for a Saturday morning move. I thought I could get through 2 more days. But Friday changed everything. It was around 7 p.m., and I had just finished giving my daughter a bath. I stepped out for maybe 30 seconds to grab her fresh onesie from the dryer when I heard a loud thud like something heavy falling. I ran back in. My mom was in the bathroom, holding my baby, and she looked furious. She almost slipped. "Why would you leave her unattended in the tub?" I froze. "What are you talking about?" She was out of the water. I was gone for seconds. She was soaking wet and screaming. "You could have killed her." She shoved my baby at me like I was a stranger. I held my daughter tight, rocking her, whispering, "You're okay, you're okay." Then I noticed something. My mom's shirt wasn't wet. At all. Neither were her sleeves. She hadn't pulled my daughter out of any water. She'd staged it. And the look in her eyes, it wasn't concern. It was performance. I asked, "Did you go in there just to make me look bad?" She didn't answer. She turned on her heel and walked out, muttering something about Child Protective Services. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the rocking chair with my baby against my chest and stared at the wall, counting each breath. This wasn't just control. This was sabotage. It was almost like she wanted me to break down so she could say, "I told you so." And here's the kicker: the next morning, I overheard her on the phone with someone. She was in her bedroom, door cracked slightly, and she said clear as day, "She's drowning. She won't last a week on her own." But sometimes they need to hit rock bottom before they realize what they gave up. I recorded it. Felt sick to do that. But something inside me shifted permanently in that moment. I knew that if she ever tried to take custody, or file a false report, I needed to be ready. I'd never considered her a threat before. But now? Now I saw her for what she really was. A woman who'd rather break me than admit she couldn't control me anymore. Saturday came. Jasmine pulled up with her cousin's beat-up SUV. I had 2 duffel bags and a plastic tub. That was it. My mom didn't even come downstairs. Not at first. But as I buckled my baby into the car seat, she finally appeared. "You're seriously going to move into some stranger's house? With a baby? It's temporary. But yes. You're going to regret this. I give it 3 weeks before you're back here begging." I looked her straight in the eyes. I'd rather sleep on the street than raise my daughter in fear. That was the last thing I said to her. It's been 2 months since I left. It hasn't been easy. There've been nights when the bottle ran low, or I cried on the kitchen floor from exhaustion. But for the first time, my baby sleeps without screaming. For the first time, I feel like I can breathe. And the most unexpected thing? That twist I didn't see coming? My Aunt Mom's estranged younger sister found me through Jasmine. She said, "I heard what happened. And I need you to know your mom did the exact same thing to me. She told me how at 19, pregnant and alone, my mom offered her a place to stay, then slowly isolated her from friends, undermined her every parenting decision, and eventually kicked her out when she dared stand up for herself. She calls it tough love, but it's really just fear. Fear that someone else might do it better. I cried when she said that. Not because it hurt, but because it was the first time someone saw it, and named it, and gave me permission to stop blaming myself. So AITA for walking away from my mom? For calling what she did abuse? For choosing peace over pride? Because some nights when the world's quiet and I'm rocking my baby in the dark, I still hear her voice. You'll be back. But I won't. I'm building something different. And it starts with saying no to the people who hurt me even when they say they love me. I thought cutting her off would be the end. I thought distance would mean peace. But trauma doesn't recognize zip codes. 3 weeks after I moved into Jasmine's cousin's apartment, I got a letter. Not a text, not a voicemail, an actual letter, tucked inside an envelope with perfect cursive handwriting and no return address. It felt like a trap before I even opened it. Inside there was one paragraph. Just one. You're being dramatic. I was trying to teach you resilience. That's what mothers do. But if you insist on playing the victim, don't come crawling back when the real world crushes you. You're still my daughter, and I'll always forgive you, but you have to learn the hard way. That's how I did. I read it twice, 3 times, and I don't know what got me more, the gaslighting, the conditional forgiveness, or the fact that she wrote it like she had been the one wronged. I didn't respond. I shredded the letter, but the words stuck. Crawling back. Forgive you. Learn the hard way. But here's the thing. The hard way was already happening. Every day. Except now I was doing it on my terms. Jasmine and her cousin Malik were saints. Jasmine would take the baby for an hour on Sundays so I could nap. Malik cooked dinner 3 nights a week and told me dad jokes just to get me to laugh. It was tight, loud, and messy, but it was safe. For the first time in a long time, my baby smiled without flinching at loud voices. But peace doesn't last when someone like my mother feels ignored. One afternoon I got a knock at the door. I was feeding the baby in my lap, and Malik was working in the living room. He answered it and then called my name, his voice stiff, like he'd just seen a ghost. When I stepped out of the kitchen, my mom was standing in the doorway. Full makeup, a grocery bag in one hand, a photo album in the other. I froze. She smiled like nothing had ever happened. I brought some things for the baby, and some food. I figured you might need a break. Malik looked at me, waiting for my signal. I said one word. No. She blinked. Excuse me. I stepped forward slowly. You can't just show up uninvited. You lost that right when you put my child in danger. Her smile twitched. I didn't put her in danger. You're exaggerating what happened. You faked a bathroom incident to scare me. You hid formula. You talked about calling CPS like it was leverage. That's not what I have the recording, Mom. That shut her up. She adjusted the grocery bag, trying to recover. I'm still your mother. I was trying to protect you. No. You were trying to control me. And I'm not letting my daughter grow up thinking that's what love looks like. Then came the tears. The sudden sobs. Like clockwork. I did everything alone, too. I didn't get a handout. I didn't get a roommate helping me raise a child. I sacrificed everything for you. And now you're punishing me for not being perfect. For a second, the little girl in me wanted to fold. Wanted to say I'm sorry. Please stay. But then I looked down at my daughter. And I said, you're right. You did sacrifice a lot. But your wounds don't give you permission to wound me. I turned to Malik. Please close the door. He didn't hesitate. That night, I sat with Jasmine and Malik and told them everything. Not just what had happened recently, but the years of little cruelties. The way my mom would praise me in front of others but nitpick me behind closed doors. The guilt trips. The manipulation disguised as advice. Malik said something I'll never forget. She's trying to finish a story that already ended. But you started a new one the day you walked out. For a few weeks things calmed down again. My mom didn't reach out. I started getting more shifts at the diner. Jasmine helped me sign up for free parenting workshops at the community center. Life was messy but honest. Until one morning, When I dropped off my daughter at a new local daycare, the director pulled me aside. "I just wanted to double-check," she said gently. "There was a woman who came by yesterday asking if she could pick up your daughter today. Said she was the grandmother. But your forms don't list any approved pickups." My blood ran cold. "What did she look like?" I asked. "Red coat. Black hair. Nice smile but pushy." It was her. She tried to pick up my child behind my back. The director assured me she hadn't gotten near the children, that they turned her away immediately, but I felt sick, violated, and most of all scared. If she was willing to go this far, what was next? I called the police that afternoon to file a no-contact request. They said unless she was legally threatening or violent, there wasn't much they could do beyond document the incident. I started locking every window, sleeping with my phone next to me, watching over my shoulder in public. It was like being hunted by someone who still believed she owned me. Jasmine looked me dead in the eyes one night and said, "You need a lawyer. Even just a consultation. You have to be prepared." I found a nonprofit that offered free legal aid for single moms in high-conflict custody threats. The woman I spoke to, Monica, was calm, sharp, and validating in a way that made me cry within 10 minutes. "You're not crazy," she said. "We see this all the time. It's coercive control. Some parents don't know how to stop parenting with power." We built a plan. I created an official parenting plan, got my daughter a pediatrician outside my mother's insurance system, and Monica helped me draft a cease and desist letter with clear language about visitation and legal consequences. It felt like taking back my voice in slow motion. But the final blow didn't come from her. It came from me. One day, during a court preparation meeting, Monica asked, "Have you considered counseling?" I shrugged. "I don't have time for therapy. Or money." She handed me a card. "This one's free. For mothers like you." The therapist's name was Gloria. 60-something. Soft voice. Iron heart. She listened to me rant, unravel, cry, and laugh all in 1 hour. At the end of the third session, she said, "You're grieving." "I know," I said. "The person I needed her to be." She nodded. "And maybe the person you were when you still believed she could become that." I lost it. Fully broke down. That night, I wrote my mom a letter. Not to send. Just to write. In it, I said everything I'd never been allowed to say. How I'd begged silently for her approval as a child. How I twisted myself into versions she'd accept. How I almost let her teach my daughter that love equals fear. I signed it with a line I didn't know I had in me. "You raised me to survive, but now I'm raising someone to live. And that means choosing safety even if it means losing you." And then I burned the letter. It's been 6 months now. My daughter just took her first steps last week. Jasmine cried harder than I did. Malik bought cupcakes. We danced in the kitchen like fools. My mom hasn't reached out again. But I still feel her shadow sometimes in the way I second-guess my decisions, or panic when the formula runs low. But then I remind myself, I left. I protected my baby. I chose different. And that makes me more of a mother than she ever gave me credit for. The funny thing about healing is that it doesn't feel like a grand moment. It creeps in quietly between feedings and laundry, in the middle of laughing so hard at Malik's terrible puns that I forget what pain even felt like. It shows up when Jasmine braids my hair while we watch trashy reality TV, and when my baby says "Mama," not out of fear but with a gummy smile. 6 months turned into nearly a year. I started full-time shifts at the diner. Jasmine and I began co-parenting in the most beautifully unconventional way. She wasn't my daughter's parent, but she showed up like one. Malik babysat on weekends. My daughter's laugh filled the tiny apartment like sunlight through cracked blinds. And then one day the call came. It was a hospital. They said my mother had collapsed at work. Stress-related. High blood pressure. She was stable, but they'd called the emergency contact on file. Me. I stared at my phone for a long time after that. I didn't go right away. I sat with it. With everything. The years of silence. The choices. The trauma. The time I nearly fed my daughter sugar water because her formula was hidden. The day I left and never looked back. Then I packed a diaper bag, just in case. And I walked into that hospital like a ghost walking back into her old body. She was sitting up when I entered the room. For in her arm. No makeup. No mask. She looked smaller than I remembered. When she saw me, she didn't smile, didn't cry, just said, "So you heard?" I nodded. "I did." She looked away. "You didn't have to come." I didn't. I came for me. For closure. There was silence. The kind that stretches and trembles like a bridge about to collapse. Finally, she said, "I didn't know how to do better." "I believe you," I said. She looked shocked. "You do." "I do," I repeated. "But believing you didn't know better doesn't mean I have to let you keep hurting me." She looked at her hands, twisting the hospital bracelet. "I never wanted to hurt you. I just didn't want you to fail." "And you thought scaring me would prevent that?" "I thought," she said, eyes filling, "that if I made it hard for you, you'd be stronger." "You did make it hard," I said. "But strength doesn't come from fear. Comes from safety. And love. And grace." We both sat there, our histories hanging in the air. Finally, she asked, "Do you hate me?" I took a breath. "No. I don't hate you. But I don't trust you. And I don't owe you access to my life just because you want it." A single tear slid down her cheek. "What about my granddaughter? She's thriving. Happy. Safe. And if one day she wants to meet you, I won't stand in her way. But only if you've earned that chance." She nodded slowly, absorbing that. "I want to," she whispered. "Earn it." We didn't hug. We didn't cry in each other's arms. This wasn't a fairy tale reunion. But it was honest. And maybe for people like us, honesty is more sacred than affection. I left the hospital with my daughter sleeping on my chest in a baby sling. Her head nestled against my heart. The sun was setting. Orange clouds casting long shadows. A new day behind us and another one ahead. I didn't know what came next with my mom. Whether she'd change. Whether she'd try. Whether we'd ever rebuild something real. But I knew one thing. I broke the cycle. My daughter would grow up never wondering if love meant shrinking herself. She would learn that boundaries are brave. That forgiveness isn't owed. That sometimes, protecting your peace is the kindest thing you can do for yourself, and even for the people who hurt you. So am I the asshole? For cutting off my mother? For protecting my baby? For choosing healing over heritage? Some people would say yes. But I'm okay being the villain in someone else's story. As long as I'm the hero in my daughter's.